is to talk about your background, your education, and some of your experiences, and then we'll have a break, and we'll come back for another 8-minute segment, and then we'll have another break, and then we'll come back for a 10-minute segment. And so we want you to give us any information that you think is important dealing with the Pearl Cone High School Magnet School Band. Let's start off with you, Mr. Ayers.
All right, well, thank you for having us today. Yes, like you said, my name is Bruce Ayers. I am actually from Dover, Delaware, where I was born and raised, to a wonderful home, had a loving mother, a very strong father, and they saw at a young age that music was where I was supposed to be. There was a battle there trying to get into the music field. They didn't always support it, but when they saw how much it meant to me, I think that's when the door started opening because they were there to support. I graduated from Dover High School in 2008, where I was a drum major there. And then after high school, I went to Virginia State University in Petersburg, Virginia, where I became also a drum major, first sophomore drum major in the history of Virginia State University, which is a HBCU. And I think that's where a lot of my foundation started in the music field, particularly in band. I fell in love with it. I knew then and there in college that's what I was supposed to do for the rest of my life. And so I hope that I am leading in a way that represents who I am and what music means to me for my students.
Very good. Tangela, let's talk about your background, education, and some of the things that were important in your life, and then we'll have our first commercial break, and then we'll come back. But let's talk about it from that perspective.
Yes, sir. As you stated, my name is Tangela Wilcox. I am born and raised from here, Nashville, Tennessee. I started at a very, very young age with majoretting, baton twirling, all those types of things as far as dance. I'm alumni of Whites Creek High School, where I was a majorette there for 4 years. But I twirled for Tennessee Twirling Institute for over 14 years. After I graduated from Whites Creek, I decided that majoretting was really something that I was interested in. I loved it, loved to have kids, I loved to dance myself. So therefore, I decided to go back to my alumni and work with those majorettes there. I started at Whites Creek working with their majorettes. Not gonna tell you the year, then I might tell you my age, but again, it was a long time. I did that for 12 years at Whites Creek. Then I've been at Pearl Cone for 3 years now. It's just something that I love to do. I love to mentor young ladies and help them to develop into grown women.
Mr. Ayers, why don't you give us some information in reference to the band itself? I think it's called a Pearl Cone Entertainment Magnet School Band. Now, what does all of that mean together?
All right, so the Pearl Cone Entertainment Magnet High School Marching Band is the band of tradition. And if you know anything about Nashville, more specifically North Nashville, you know the history of it. The renowned Jefferson Street, the Pearl Cone Institute itself. You know that Pearl Cone was Pearl, and then there was a school Cone, and when integration happened, they became Pearl Cone. The history behind that school in itself, it creates an atmosphere of pride. The Pearl Cone Marching Band is the #1 band in Nashville, and it has been so for years. And when I say years, I mean 30 plus years. Before myself, I've been at Pearl Cone for 4 years. Mr. John Sevier was the band director before I got there. He created a tradition of excellence. The band has performed on national stages. The band has been televised. The band has won several awards and honors, and we strive today to keep that name going. I am thankful for my kids. They are dedicated, they are passionate, and more importantly, their parents are also a great support for me as well.
Now, Ms. Wilcox, as a twirler, I think you indicated that you twirl a lot.
Yes.
Now, how do you prepare your charges? And I'm assuming that there might be some male twirlers as well as female. How do you prepare your charges for doing what you are now professionally doing?
Well, we did have a male majorette before. We have had male majorettes before. We encourage both. If you can dance, male or female. We don't discriminate. But my charge is if if you have that passion and you can dance, then we welcome you.
Okay, so what we're going to do, Ms. Wilcox, we're going to take our first commercial break, and we're going to come back and start with you. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Okay, very good.
Okay. Well, let's do it
Okay,
again.
now this is another 6
You
minutes.
know, watch how I bit my tongue. I don't know what to say, Lord.
Pearl Cone Entertainment Magnet High School Band. Marching Band.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is the Pearl Cone Entertainment Magnet High School Marching Band. And of course, we have with us to talk about this extraordinary band, the band director himself, Mr. Bruce Ayers, and with Mr. Bruce Ayers is Miss Tangela Wilcox. And Mr. Ayers and Ms. Wilcox, let me welcome the two of you to the show this morning and tell you how delighted we are to have you. Now, let's start off, Mr. Ayers, by giving us some information in reference to your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in terms of leading you to us this morning. And Ms. Wilcox will give us some additional information in reference to her background, education, and experiences. And we're going to try to get out of this segment in 6 minutes. So you've got about 3 minutes, and Ms. Wilcox, you'll have about 2 minutes to talk about yourself during that time. Let's start with you, Mr. Ayers.
Well, thank you for having us. Yes, a little background about myself. As you know, my name is Bruce Ayers. I am from Dover, Delaware, and I think that's where a lot of my musical background started. My family has an emerged experience with music. I began music at the age of 4 years old, and I think at that age, my parents really started to invest in that. I went to Dover High School in Dover, Delaware, where I became a drum major there. And then after that, I attended Virginia State University, where I was the first sophomore drum major in the history of the university. I think there is where again, a lot of my musical experiences and my background started to develop. After graduating from Virginia State University in 2012, I attended Tennessee State University, Aristocratic Bands, where I get my master's degree in music. Tennessee State University has had a tremendous impact on my life as well.
Very good. Ms. Wilcox?
Yes, hi again. My name is Tangela Wilcox. As you stated, I started baton twirling at the age of 4. It was something that I loved to dance, loved to twirl. So my mom felt that she needed to get me into something. So baton twirling was the foundation that was laid. After baton twirling, I decided when I went to high school, I'm an alumni of Whites Creek High School, and I was a majorette there. So after I graduated, I decided to go back and give back. I love mentoring young ladies and helping them develop into grown women. I decided to become, I was asked to become the majorette coach at Whites Creek and was there for over 12 years. I've been at Pearl Cone for 3 years as the majorette coach, and it's just something that I love and I have a passion for.
You know, Mr. Ayers, I think that most people know of the Pearl Cone Entertainment Band, marching band, but what are some of the things that you would like for those people who might not know anything about this band? What would you like to say in reference to that during the last minute and a half that we have here on this segment?
Yes, the Pearl Cone Entertainment Magnet High School Marching Band, our name is the Band of Tradition. And a lot of times when we think of tradition, we think of things not changing. But I think that that name, it alludes to something else. It's a band of tradition because of the tradition of excellence that we hold. Anyone who knows the Pearl Cone Band knows that you know what you're going to get. You're going to get an award-winning performance every time you see the Pearl Cone Marching Band.
Very good, and as a matter of fact, that's why we wanted to deal with this particular band this morning, because we know of the tradition and we've seen you march and et cetera, and so we know it's a very, very popular band, and we know that this will be a popular show. Make some statements in reference to this band over the last minute and a half that we have, Ms. Wilcox.
This band is a very positive and a very growing band. We have kids that are, like I said, magnet schools, and we also have kids that are feeder that attend the band also. If you are zoned to Pearl Cone, you're more than welcome to come and be a participant of the band also.
And so you do a lot of reaching out in a real sense, trying to bring in as many people as you possibly can to this particular band. And so what we're going to do, we're going to take our first commercial break, which will be a 2-minute commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to have you to give us some information over the next 8 minutes dealing with the band, some of the things, some of your successes, some of your aspirations, and some of the things that you'd like to highlight to let people know what you're doing, because I know quite well what you're doing. I've known about this band for the last 20 years, you see, and so when we come back during this second commercial break, this first commercial break, we will have you to give us that kind of information, and then Ms. Wilcox will give you an opportunity during that next 8 minutes to talk about some of the real things that you are concerned with it. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Bruce Ayers and Miss Tangela Wilcox in reference to Pearl High School Entertainment, Pearl Cone High School Entertainment Marching Band. And I know, Miss Wilcox, I didn't get all of that straight, but I think we said it earlier in an earlier show in reference to what you're doing here and et cetera. Talk about some of the things in reference to what some of the young people do under your tutelage guidance in a real sense, and then Mr. Ayers will be able to close us out for this second segment.
Yes, sir. Okay, we are Pearl Cone Majorettes. This year I have 19 young ladies. This is the largest that I've had since I've been at Pearl Cone. It's very interesting because you have several different personalities that you're dealing with. So these young ladies, we not only focus on their dance but the main focus is their education. We want to make sure that their education is being met, that their grades are at where they need to be before they're able to perform. A lot of times some of the girls may have to sit out due to their grades not being where they need to be. Because like I said, our main focus is their education and dance is second. But my ladies, the main thing that I try to focus on is I know, especially my seniors, we are preparing them to become college majorettes. So therefore, we want to focus on the way that they carry themselves, the way that they do interviews. We want to focus on the way that they overall look. It's not just about dance. We want to go out and work within the community, teach them how to work, teach them how to fill out a resume, and just build them, build their confidence level. Just help them to mature and become young ladies. So therefore, it's not only just about majorette, it's about their whole positive build as a woman.
I would imagine you could say the same thing in reference to the band itself. Mr. Ayers, speak to that.
Yes, sir. Like Tangela said, we focus on education. You are a student musician, an emphasis on student before musician or dancer. Last year, I'm proud to say that we had 100% of our graduating class attend college, and they all are doing very well in their first semester. Grades are very important. Education is very important. It doesn't matter how talented you are. Without that education, there's going to be a lot of life blocks that can hinder you from being successful. I check grades. Behavior is also important. Your reputation, not only do you represent yourself, your parents, but you represent this band program that a lot of people have worked to build up to where it is now. So we need for you to behave appropriately, and we need for your grades to be exceeding the expectation. A lot of our students, like I said, they are in college now, and we look forward to our students currently, our seniors, to also follow in their footsteps. I don't believe that when you have a high standard for you to backtrack. So if we had a 100% graduation rate last year, I expect for a 100% graduation rate this year.
Now, that's unusual, isn't it, to graduate all of the students in your band? I mean, all of the band members who are ready, it's time for them to graduate, and all of them graduated last year.
Yes, sir. It is maybe not unusual, but it is very rare for 100% of your students to graduate, especially being from the North Nashville community. There's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of situations that could come up that may hinder a child from being able to reach that level of success. But I think because Tangela, she keeps me accountable as well, we have created a program where that is now the culture, is to be successful in your education.
Speak to that, Ms. Wilcox.
Yes, we have communication with our students' teachers. We meet the teachers. We have some students that don't attend Pearl Cone that attend other magnet schools, but they are zoned to Pearl Cone, which is okay for them to. We allow them to participate in the band. So therefore, we have the email. We use email, or either sometimes we just go in if we have some time off. We'll go in and meet their teachers and just have a relationship with the teachers, just to make sure that we are keeping those students on the right track. Because sometimes they may fall a little bit behind, but we have tutors that come in that can help with the students that are having difficult with different subjects. And we just want to make sure that our kids, not only be great band members, but be a great student, period.
Mr. Ayers, you talk about the band, but the band cannot be there by itself. I think that there's a whole athletic program that the band is associated with. How is Pearl Cone doing this year in terms of the athletics, especially football and et cetera?
Pearl Cone has always had a reputation of having a wonderful football program. Currently, right now, we are on the road to the state championship. Our last regular season game is next week, and so we will beat Wise Creek next week. And so we will go to the state of playoffs. And so not only is the band a part of the athletic department, because band is a sport. It's a non-contact sport, but the things that qualify a band member to be physically fit, it is considered a sport. And so the Pearl Cone Way, which is an athletic department's phrase, is that students put school first. And so the football team, along with the basketball team, volleyball team, soccer, we all held our students accountable to the same standards.
And you found Pearl Cone to be an excellent place for you to demonstrate not only your talents, but also to encourage young people, especially young women,
Absolutely.
to be the best that they can be. Is that what you were saying, Ms.
That
Wilcox?
is correct. That is correct. Like I said, after Whites Creek, I thought I was retiring, but then, I had that passion and I love it so much, I wasn't ready to. So therefore, I came to Pearl, and I've
Well,
been
now,
there
how
for 3
long
years.
did you work at Whites Creek?
I was at Whites Creek for over 12 years. And I kind of rest for a couple of years, and then I came
And so
to
you've
Pearl.
been active in this kind, you've been doing this kind of activity
Yes,
with
sir.
bands, twirling, and whatever, practically all of your life. Is that what you're saying?
Majority of me.
As a matter of fact, I think you started your band career in a real sense at 4 years old,
Yes,
dealing
sir.
with music. And so the two of you would advise those individuals who might aspire toward becoming involved in music, athletics, and et cetera, to think in terms of the band. And so you're also telling me the band is more than just a band.
Yes, sir.
Right.
We are a family. We spend a lot of time together. I commend the students because not only do we practice after school, most nights we don't get out of practice until 7 p.m.
Very good. And of course, let's take this final commercial break, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Mr. Ayers and Ms. Wilcox from Pearl Cone Entertainment Magnet High School Marching Band, and they're giving us some information that will wrap up, Mr. Ayers, in terms of some of your experiences with the band and some of your plans and some of the things that you're planning on doing, and et cetera. And Ms. Wilcox will wrap us up during the last 8 minutes.
Okay. Yes, so we mentioned earlier about the band's expectations as far as their education is concerned. But band is also very fun. It's an outlet for the kids. We've created a family within the band program. We spend maybe 80% of the students' time is spent with the band program. So the parents, they look to us as, you know, another part of their life. And I'm thankful for my parents. We have an amazing Boosters Association, which is for parents. They provide meals for the band. They help with transportation. They provide materials for the band. And apparently, the band program cannot work without them. So I want to thank our band booster parents for being so selfless in what they do. Also, just last year, we had a phenomenal performance at the Schermerhorn Symphony Center, which is a big deal. Anyone from Nashville knows the Schermerhorn Symphony Center is the premier center for the Nashville Symphony. We partnered with the Frisch Museum, and we brought in Nick Cave, who's an African-American visual artist, and he performed with us one of his pieces, Nick Cave, which was featuring Nashville. And it pretty much brought the Nashville community together, and it provided a national stage for the Pearl Cone Marching Band to perform on. That was a major accomplishment for not only myself, but for the band, because this performance also won nomination for a national Emmy. We are still currently on the road to receiving the Emmy, but we've been nominated for an Emmy, and I think that's a lot to say about this, what the students are doing at Pearl Cone as far as the band program is concerned. Also, the name Pearl Cone Entertainment Magnet High School, the Entertainment Magnet School, we are the only school in the country with the name Entertainment Magnet. We are a Grammy Award-winning school. We are an Emmy Award-winning school. So our students have opportunities that no other student in this country has as far as the music industry is concerned.
Very good. Ms. Wilcox.
Yes, as he stated, you know, these students, they have a great opportunity. This is something that can go on their resume for jobs or for school. You know, it looks really good. It's just good. It's a good all-in-all showcase for them.
And it gives all of you something to work with in terms of the band itself and individuals outside of the band and et cetera. The band has not only a real tradition, but the band is perhaps one of the most important drivers in terms of bringing people around to Pearl Cone. Certainly the athletic program is important, but the band is a central part of that program, is it not?
It is very an essential part of the program. Our community is amazing. They support us 100%. We practice in the neighborhood. Our school is surrounded by homes. And so every time we practice, we can expect for our community to come out and support us and cheer us on to get us across that final stretch. Also, I would like to give acknowledgement to the administration. Mrs. Miriam Harrington is our executive principal, and she is a #1 supporter of the band. I believe because of her background in music as well, but we cannot function without our principal. She supports us 100%.
So Ms. Harrington is the principal there at Pearl, and she plays an important part in terms of helping to bring the band activities together. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, sir. From anything from encouraging our students to do well in their classes, encouraging our students to do well in the band, and also she believes that the band should be the face of the school, and so she supports us in any and every endeavor that we have, all the way to funding and make sure the band has everything that it needs to succeed.
And Ms. Wilcox, over the last few minutes, let's talk about some of your young ladies as well as the men who might be a part of that twirling activity. How does that work with the band? How do you make that a part of the band?
Actually, this year we don't really actually have any baton twirlers. We have dancers. We have a few ladies that have twirled in the past, but we just haven't really incorporated the baton twirling yet. But They practice 24/7. They practice so much that even the ladies even video each other when they go home. For the ladies who maybe didn't make practice or, just couldn't be there at the time due to another appointment, they video their practices and send it to each other. So they're very dedicated to what they're doing. That's something that we push and strive for them to be dedicated as well. So they practice really hard so they can put on a great show for everyone.
Now, Mr. Ayers, looking at some of the things that the band might stand, might stand in need of. I know that you've got support from the community and et cetera, but what are some of the financial needs, instruments and those kind of things? Because I know I've had an opportunity to see other bands around Nashville, and somehow your instruments don't seem to match out in terms of being the quality new in a real sense. When are you able to receive new instruments and et cetera? Do you have any need for new instruments or whatever?
Yes, sir. What I would like to mention is that we are blessed to have support from the CMA, Country Music Association Foundation, and they are partnership with Metro Public Schools, and they provide instruments for our students. The needs that we do have are, I would love to take this band beyond where we've been. We've been a lot of places, but we tend to stay in the southern borders. Before school started, we traveled to Kentucky. We've gone to Memphis. We've gone to other surrounding cities. But I'd love to get the band to travel the country. In my band program growing up, we traveled the world. So it takes a lot of funding just for us to travel to an away football game can range from $800 to $1,200. So it does take a lot of funds to move the band, to feed the band, and support the band. So my dream and my vision is to see the band travel more. There's no amount of funds that would fulfill that need because there's so much that we want to do and there's so much that these kids deserve. But we are thankful for what we do have. And of course, we can always use more.
Use more. And Ms. Wilcox, you would probably say the same thing?
I would agree 100% because a lot of times these students, this is the only exposure that they may have or they may get. So therefore, we want to make it memorable. We want to make sure that if we can help in any way, that they get the exposure that they're desiring.
And so the band season is not over yet, that you've got another activity that you want to be involved in dealing with the athletic program or whatever. How does that work out?
Yes, sir. So the band season is nowhere near over. In fact, the band season is never over. These students, they dedicate their summers. We get out of school at the end of May. We begin band camp the beginning of July. So a traditional student would have an entire summer, the end of May through August. Band students, they start in July. And even during winter break, they're asked to come back early. During fall break, they're asked to perform. They're asked to practice. During spring break, they're asked to perform and practice as well. So the band students, they never really have a break. The band season never ends. So if there was some way that we could acknowledge what these students do, I would like to see that through a scholarship awarded to the band seniors, to also give initiative for them continuing their education post-high school.
And of course, I think that would certainly be possible in terms of creating a band scholarship. You don't have a band scholarship to give to students who might want to go beyond Pearl Cone?
So we do encourage our students to apply for college and audition for scholarship, but sometimes that scholarship that the university offers is not enough. And so we would like to be able to provide funds for our graduating seniors to, pay for books, even if it's as little as a $500 scholarship for each student. That would be the ultimate goal.
Very good. Let me thank the two of you during the last half minute we have here for coming by and giving us that excellent information. And I'm sure that most of our audience know about the Pearl Cone Entertainment Magnet School Marching Band. But of course, this will only reinforce what they do know. And we encourage you to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.
at the stadium?
At the stadium.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's at the stadium. It's
All
been at
right.
the